A brain teaser is a great tool to challenge one's ability to think creatively and rationally. That's why many companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook are known for offering some tough interview riddles for their candidates. However, in recent years, business giants reportedly gave up this practice. Google even called riddles a waste of time because they don't predict anything about the candidate's future performance and serve only for the sake of feeding the interviewer's ego. But it's still curious to know whether you could crack those riddles, right? So, let's find out. They say Microsoft and Amazon used this puzzle in their interviews. You're given 8 identical-looking balls. One of them is heavier than the rest of the 7. You have simple mechanical scales and you can only make 2 measurements. Can you find the heavier ball? Let's name the balls 1 to 8. First, we should put the balls 1, 2, and 3 on the first side of the scales and balls 4, 5, and 6 on the second side. If these two groups have equal weight, it means that the heavier ball is either 7 or 8. In this case, all we need to do is weigh the remaining 2 balls and find out which is heavier. But let's talk about another scenario. Say one of the groups of 3 balls on the scales is heavier. The desired ball must be here. Now all you have to do is measure any 2 of these balls and reveal which one is heavier. If both balls have the same weight, then the desired ball is the one that remains unweighted. Today, Elon Musk reportedly doesn't interview each and every employee, but rumor has it that when he used to do that, he would ask this riddle. You're standing somewhere on the surface of Earth. You walk 1 mile south, then 1 mile west, and then 1 mile north. And you end up back at the same point where you started. Where are you? The most obvious reply is the North Pole. Congratulations, it's correct. But according to Musk's biographers, when he heard this answer, he would also ask, where else could you be? What do you say? Let's take a look at the circle of latitude near the South Pole that has a 1 mile circumference. From any point on this circle, walking 1 mile west along this circle will bring you back to that same point. Therefore, any point a mile north of this circle of latitude is a possible solution to the riddle. There's another option. You might be anywhere that is 5 miles south of the equator. This way, your westerly and easterly routes rotate an equal amount around a latitude. Also, you might be a superhero who can teleport to any point anytime, but that's a whole different ballgame. In this case, SpaceX would probably hire you without even looking at your resume. Many job portals mention interview puzzles about crossing a river under various terms. Here's a tricky example of those riddles. 9 brothers live on an island. Their names are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. They need to cross a river. They have a single boat that can take them from one bank to the other. But it can handle a maximum of 3 brothers at a time. Also, the boat cannot sail on its own, so one brother must steer it. There's one more condition. The sum of the same numbers of the brothers crossing the river must be a total square number. What's the minimal number of trips required to send all the brothers across the river? On the first trip, send brothers 2, 5, and 9. The sum of these numbers is 16, which is 4 times 4. Then send 9 back. This will be the second trip. On the third trip, send 3, 4, and 9. Again, the sum of their numbers is 16, which meets the conditions perfectly. On the fourth trip, send 9 back. And on the fifth trip, send 1, 7, and 8. The sum of these numbers is 16 again. On the 6th trip, return 1 to the island. And finally, on the 7th trip, send 1, 6, and 9. The sum of these numbers totals 16, which is still a square number. So, it takes at least 7 trips to send all the brothers across the river. Media reported that LinkedIn used the next riddle during its job interviews. You're in a room with 3 levers. There are 3 fountains in the next room. Each lever turns on one of the fountains. Your task is to figure out which lever controls which fountain. You can't see into one room from the other, and all the 3 fountains are off. You can inspect the other room only once. What would you do? Let's call the levers 1, 2, and 3. Leave the first lever off. Turn lever 2 on for 10 minutes. Now turn it off and quickly turn on lever 3. Go into the room. Find the fountain that is still wet but not working. That's the one controlled by lever 2. The one that's currently working is linked with lever 3. And the last one is linked with the first lever. This logical exercise from the 1960s is called the Wason selection task. Be careful, it's pretty tricky. Even math students fail to crack it. There are 4 cards. Each card has a letter on one side and a number on the other side. There's only one rule. Every card with the letter D on one side should have the number 3 on the opposite side. Can you guess which card or cards should be turned over to check if the rule has been followed? You need to check 2 cards, D and 7. Most people suggest choosing cards D and 3, but this answer is wrong. Let's go through each card to understand the logic. The rule says, if a card has D, it must have 3 on the other side. So, we must check the first card to make sure there's a 3 on the opposite side. The second card shows the letter K. We know nothing about the other letters, so it doesn't matter what's on the other side because neither case violates the rule, so we can skip it. We know that some cards with the 3 digits will have the letter D on the other side, but we don't know if that's true for all cards with 3s. So it makes no sense to check the third card. And finally, the fourth card. If we find the D letter on the other side, it would violate the rule because there's a digit 7 on the opposite side. So we should check only these 2 cards. Here's another informal variation of the previous game. There are 4 cards representing different persons. One side shows their favorite beverage and the other side their age. The city has a rule that anyone drinking lemonade must be over 20 years old. Which cards do you need to turn over to make sure the rule is followed? You only need to check the lemonade card and the card with number 16. Obviously, you need to make sure the lemonade drinking is over 20, and you need to make sure that the 16-year-old person doesn't drink lemonade. The coffee person can be any age, and the 25-year-old can legally drink lemonade. Most people can solve this riddle pretty quickly, and that's curious because, in fact, this task is similar to the previous one. This famous puzzle was designed to challenge one's ability to reason and see patterns. 3 ants are in the corners of an equilateral triangle. Each ant is moving in a random direction along the edges of the triangle. What's the probability that none of the ants collide with the triangle? There's a 50% possibility of the ants never colliding, and a 50% chance that at least 2 of them can meet. All the ants can move in either a clockwise or counterclockwise direction. This halves your first 50% chance of the never meeting ants to a 25% chance. And here's an example of a tricky wording question. What 2 words, when combined, hold the most letters? Post and office.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.